Variables. Variables are used to store data. Anytime we need this data, we can simply call our variable. For example, imagine a user logging his account. We need to create variables which will store the user's name, age, and other basic informations about the user. Anytime we need the user's name or other informations about the user, we can simply call our variables to grab those informations. Welcome back, guys. So now let's create some simple variables. So in creating variables, you can use the const, or you can use the let or the var. So you can use any of these methods to create your variable, but the const here is used to create variables that cannot be modified. So you cannot change the variable back. But if you intend to change the variable at some certain point, then you are compelled to use the let or the var. So the let or the var are all the same. They all specify the same purpose. So if I simply delete this, so let's use the const to create a username. So user name variable. Then we set it equals to John Deal. So in creating a variable, you cannot give a space here. So if you give a space, you see this tickling reddish line at the bottom showing that there's an error. So you cannot give a space there, and you cannot use this kind of words. So you have to just leave it like this. So if I change this to n, so I can also leave it like this, but if you leave it like this, then it's difficult to read the variable. So it's simple, you just change it to this. So the user will start with a small letter, and the rest of the distance you capitalize the first letter, so making it username. And JavaScript too is case sensitive. So if I have username here and I'll set this to maybe Jane, so this is different from this. So this have capital N and this have as lowercase n. So if I try to console, if I log this to the console, so if I use the user name, the one with the uppercase n, then we'll get John Deal. So if I use the one with the lowercase, then we'll get Jane. So now we get Jane over here. So JavaScript is a case sensitive programming language. So I simply delete this. So let's say we want to modify it. Let's delete it. So let's say we want to modify this name and change it to something else, to maybe Jane. And I simply come to log this to our console.log the user name. Let me close this gap over here. So if I come, we'll get nothing, because there's even an error over there, because you cannot change this const. You cannot change the const because it's a constant. It's constant and you cannot change it back. But if we have the let, maybe let's use it to set the user's age to maybe 23, and let's log this to the console. Use the console.log. Then we have our age over here. So if I refresh, we'll get 23. But if I want, I can change this age from 23 to 42 and I save. So we'll get 42 over here because it's a let and you can change it. So if I change this back to the var, it will still serve the same purpose over here because the let and var are all the same. So that's how to write variables. So always use the var or the let to set variables that will change at some point. Maybe you want to modify the variable, and you use the const to set variables that will not change at all.